Hello, everyone, and thanks for your time. Today, I'm going to talk about a boring topic, but on the other hand, it's pretty important for us. Incident management. So, um, I would like you to know and we get prepared before it happens, and how we will be reacting in those situations when we have the incidents. So I will be briefly talking about this topic, although it would be very long this time. But yeah, I think it would be an interactive session going forward. So please feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions about incident management. So let's get started. Um, so today we're gonna talk about the incident management background, some of the best practices we have, and then we will be talking about the blameless tool, which we are using for incident management. And in if you have time, I think we can also I can also show you in sandbox environment how we can use the blameless. So that would be the main agenda for today. Okay, so what is an incident? So you can see the definition. It's an unplanned interruption to any IT service or reduction in the quality of IT service. So I think you all are aware. I don't need to go into more detail. But yeah, if we encounter any issue, it's impacting customer, it's an incident. So some of the points are about the incident. Incidents are not day-to-day operations. So declare an incident explicitly, or we declare it. It's not a day-to-day operation. Incident itself requires a special set of rules. So we need to kind of like define incident status beforehand. What kind of status an incident could have. Declare when the incident is over, and we need to kind of like finalize when the incident is over. So it's not a day-to-day operation, whether it's a kind of like a time bounded operation where when it happens we define the state, when it closed we define the state. So goal is like return to the normal operation as soon as possible. Some incident could have a big impact, some could have a little impact, but as a incident manager or supporter, we would like to keep the impact as low as possible, and another thing, as fast as possible. So incident is something we want to resolve as soon as possible, again to keep the impact as low as possible, and follow up with the postmortem shortly after. Postmortem is something which need to follow up right after that, to make sure that we don't have the similar incident again. So these are the some of the goals for the incident. Okay, so in previous slide I talked about incident states, and here you can see the various incident steps. You will create or declare an incident. So when something happens, some abnormal things happen in the system, we declare that as an incident. Then we start the investigation. We identify the cause, we fixed it, we monitor, and then we mark that as a result. So these are some of the incident states. Okay, and then previously I talked about that some incidents could have a big impact, whereas some incident could have a little impact. So based on the impact, we have the incident severity levels. So here you can see we have several severity incidents from severity 1, 2, 3, 4. Severity 1 is the topmost critical, highest severity we have. Severity 2 is a little bit lesser than severity 1, and so on, like severity 3 and 4. In Mercari, we have categorized severity 1 and severity 2 incident as a major incident, whereas severity 3 and below incidents are considered as a not major incident. Um, Now, I think you might have question how we will evaluate the severity. So we have a guideline. It is written here, detailed flow to estimate incident severity. So you can check this. It has a flow. It has a workflow or maybe decision tree. How we will decide the severity of an incident. So this could be helpful for you. Okay. So let me just give a pause and just give a one just 10 minutes silence to see if anyone has any question till now. Okay, I think you can ask at last as well or anytime, it's fine. I will move to the next one. So the next is the incident roles. So for better preparing the incidents, we have predefined some of the incident roles in Mercari. So here you can see incident commander, technical lead, and communication lead. These are the three roles we usually have. Whenever any incident occurs, we assign the pupils to these roles. Let's see what each role tells about. So starting with incident commander. Okay, who is the incident commander? So incident commander takes the ownership of the whole outcome, and it's not necessarily the senior most person, but he will be responsible for taking the whole outcome of the incident. He will be responsible for assigning the other roles like a communication lead or um, we had a technical lead as well. So communication lead and technical lead assignment is also done by the incident commander. And incident commander is the single source of truth of what's happening and what's planned. So about the incident information, he will be the single source of truth. Then he has some other responsibility like develop and maintain the IAP. That will pop up later, so I will talk about that later, as well as manage update the CAN, which is condition action plan. This will also come later, so I will talk about that later as well. Second one is communication lead. So um, probably you might have noticed during incident, even in your previous company, when it happens, there are like so many people interrupting you and asking you about the state of incident or state of the resolution of incident. So here we have the communication lead who basically um, kind of like work as a public information officer. So he will be responsible for communicating with others while protecting the actual core group, incident commanders, and the technical lead, and specifically more a team as well. So voice of the incident commander is um, called communication lead. And the last one, the technical lead, who is kind of like a subject matter expert, and he is responsible for executing the technical task. um, he basically advised to communication incident commander how, I mean, about his feedback about the incident, how it should be resolved, and they both basically decides the execution plan of incident or the resolution plan of the incident. And he is kind of like a hand of incident commander. So in Mercari, overall, if I have summarized, we have three roles when an incident happens: incident commander, communication lead, and tech lead. Everyone has its own responsibility during the incident. Okay, so let's move to the CAN topic. Um, so what is CAN? Condition, action, and needs. So at initial stage, we need to define the CAN report. Um, where in conditions we will define type of incident. So what kind of incident we have, current status of incidents, including the state and severity level. So about severity level and its states I shared earlier. So we need to define that as a CN report. Summary of the incident and the blast radius. blast radius is called also customer impact. So how much customer impact an incident have. So obviously this at initial level we defined it, and for customer impact we will gradually know how it would be, because when we start investigating, we will get to know that the impact is less or more, basically. Second one is action. So what's being done and who is doing it, we will make that clear in CAN report. And needs, additional personals or resources. So if we need like support during incident, so in some cases you will figure out that the incident needs support from upstream system or downstream system. In that case you could ask for additional personals or resources. So at very initial level you will go with the CN report. Okay, now we will jump into the incident timeline. um, till now, if any questions I would be happy to take, otherwise I will be moving forward. Okay, so all right. So let's talk about the incident timeline. Here, I would like to share you some of the terminology which we are using in incident management. Um, Let me start with the MTTA. It's easy to understand. MTTA is called mean time to acknowledge. So here you can see um, start of an incident and incident acknowledgement. So incident starts until the time we detect the incident or acknowledge the incident. That time frame is called the MTTA, mean time to acknowledge the incident. Second, after the acknowledgement of this incident, how long we take to resolve the incident. That is called MTTR, which is mean time to resolve incident. And MTTA plus MTTR, in addition, it called MTRS, which is mean time to restore service. Because this time frame we haven't acknowledged the incident, but the incident was ongoing. So to restore the service, it took time from start of an incident to the resolution of the incident. So these are the three main terms you would also need to remember when you make a postmortem. In our template, we always ask how we can improve the MTTA, MTTR, as well as MTRS. So I really hope that you will take a look in this terminology. And once incident get resolved, you will back to the normal operations. And okay, meanwhile, I got a question, so I think we can take it. We have four severity levels. Does severity 1 and severity 2 in level incident have same process or treatment, given the fact that this incident have a bigger service impact and management is involved? So severity 1, severity 2 has obviously different levels. If we are getting more than, let's say, 500 customer queries for an incident, that categorized as severity 2 incident. um, Severity 1 is like completely stoppage of our service. So the dealing of both incident are, I mean, both are considered as a major incidents. So they both deal in the same way, regardless of I mean their severity. So I think your question is answered, Shan. Okay, thank you, Shan. Okay, let's move to next. Uh, Okay, so this is what I think I talked earlier, but I will just going to skip these slides because we talked earlier. MTTS, again, it's mean time to acknowledge, how long time we take to acknowledge the incident. Mean time to resolve, after the acknowledgement, how much time it take to resolve the incident. That's called MTTR. And MTTR is addition of MTTA plus MTTR, which in total becomes MTRS. mean time to restore the service from the incident start to the incident resolution. So please keep this vocabulary in your dictionary for future. Okay, let's jump into the some of the best practices for incident response. So starting from the prioritize. So the very first priority like is to stop the bleeding, which means if you see the incident, you will go for how we can resolve that incident as soon as possible. So you need to stop the bleeding as soon as possible, restore the service, and preserve the incident for root causing. Obviously, you will stop the bleed, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we are taking enough evidences for a root to figure out the root cause. Um, Root cause is necessary to prevent the same incident happening again. So, and hence it's necessary to take evidences of the root cause. Second is prepare. You prepare, develop, and document your process. As a Mercari, we have the process documented. I think when you go back to your work, you will refer these documents, see how the incident management work in Mercari. Trust is something we usually give full autonomy to the assigned roles. I talked about the assigned roles earlier, and they have the full autonomy about like resolving or resolving the incident. Introspect, pay attention to your emotional state while responding to an incident. So it's natural that we feel some kind of like a pressure during the incident resolutions, but just introspect, pay attention to your emotional state, share to your colleagues feel freely during that time frame. Consider alternatives. Periodically consider your options and review it, whether it makes seems to be continue. So you need to continuously look for alternatives as well there. Practice is something, at very first slide I shared that this is not a normal day-to-day operations. So what we need to do, we need to prepare in advance for such rare case happenings. So use the process routinely, so it becomes second nature. So you will practice for incident support basically. Change it around. So this is again a suggestion that if someone of you play in a specific role for an incident, let's say incident commander, next time you can try changing a role to become, let's say, communication lead or a tech lead if you're working as an engineer there. So you can switch your roles, and it will give you the bird view eye of the whole incident. All right. So here we talked about the incident response best practices. Going forward, these are some of the best practices to decreasing MTTA, MTTR, and MTRS. I will not talk all of this because I think for each incident, you will notice that there are like lots of ways to decrease the MTTA, MTTR, or MTRS. But in general, how you can decrease the MTTA, improve the monitoring. So if you have a proper monitoring in place of your system, you can acknowledge the incident as soon as possible. Panic button for customer support. So I mean, if some incident happens and it does not get noticed in our system, then we should have a panic button where I think customer support can easily or quickly help us to know about the incident. Then the follow-ups are like automatic incident triggering, automatic response team alerting, which is already in place for Mercari, but this is something good to have in general. Automatic construction of communication channels. So for blameless, since we will talking about the blameless later, blameless is a tool. Blameless provides us functionality features to create the channels automatically. So during the incident, such automations help to save the time and establish the procedure that are practiced. So we should have a process which is already in practice, and using these of some of the uh, things, we you can decrease the MTTR. Okay, decreasing MTTR um, and MTTRS. These are nearly similar. So codify incident process. So you codify the incident process itself. If we only have could orchestrate parallel paths of investigation, multiple SMEs running multiple slimness, which is like if you have issues and you are like having multiple things to execute or evaluate, then multiple subject matter expertise running multiple swimmerness that represents discipline in following process or like consistency and dedications. Okay, this is again decreasing MTTR. MTTR, which is codify incident process, proper training of your incident response team, um, and we talked about practice. So even in your team, you need to utilize sandbox environment to kind of like having a drill of incidents, how you would react in time of incidents. So practice is the key of like responding during the incidents. Discipline, we talked about this. Learning from your postmortems, again that's important um, to kind of like decreasing the resolution time for the next incidents. So do the postmortems thoroughly, learn from it. That's what we have as a best practice. And did I forget to mention about discipline? So we talked about discipline earlier, but that's necessary during the incident management. Okay, and for the process itself, these are again some of the words which works as a best practice. So you can remember that as a process: predictability, repeatable, optimized, clear, evaluated, scalable, and sustainable. So these are just keywords for the incident management best practices. Okay, I think we can skip this area and we can go to the next one, which is a best practice for incident postmortem process. So postmortem is happening once you resolve the incident. Postmortem we usually do um, to know what was the root cause and how we can improve that in future, and to make sure that the similar kind of incident does not happen again. So what are the best practices? You assign a postmortem owner who would be doing the postmortem, complete within the timeline, schedule meeting with the collaborate on postmortems, um, discuss and assign the follow-up actions. So in incidents, you will find that some of the actions are like um, short-term actions, whereas some actions are long-term actions. But more important, you should have a follow-up actions and a proper assignments for each short-term action and long-term actions, and complete your follow-up actions. So if you are defining follow-up actions, then obviously it's your responsibility to complete it and share learning out. This is again important one. Um, while doing the postmortem, you share your learnings with not only with your team but people around you. Okay, so this is what we have for postmortem time consumptions. So as we said, After the incident resolution, we have assignments, then we have several meetings with the PMs also. Then you define the follow-up actions. um, and after defining of follow-up actions, the incident in Mercari is reviewed by the incident management committee. And if incident management committee finds it appropriate, it publish the incident or the postmortem. If incident management committee has any issues with the postmortem, then it gets revert back to the owner, postmortem owner, and then they will have to look into detail again. But yeah, if incident management committee publish this, we can complete the follow-up actions going forward. So this is the postmortem time consumption flow. Okay, so a successful postmortem, how it looks. We have the clear ownership of postmortem. The context and key details are clear. We complete it within the timeline, track all the follow-up actions. In some of the postmortem, you have seen that people just define the postmortem, actions in text. Whereas I think in Mercari, we highly recommend, or it's kind of like our culture, to make a follow-up actions in Jira as well, and track that it is in blameless, so that we have the clear assignment, and we will not miss those tasks in future. And another one is blameless language. Blameless is a tool name, but here the blameless is representing about the vocabulary we are using. Incident management so in Mercari we have a blameless culture, and usually we don't point out to anyone for the incident cause. It's simply a system incident, so you will deal that as a system incident. So even in your report, you will be you will be making sure that the way you are writing must be blameless. You are not pointing out to anyone. And reference capability, you will be refer that back. Okay, this is continued result of successful postmortems. Um, then we have the less blame, less toils, less panic, and continuous improvement and faster delivery, happy and successful customer. So if we have that process of like successful postmortem, as a result, we will have this culture, and we will have happy and successful customer at the end.